So you're thinking about remodeling or maybe building, and you're at that point where you're ready to call someone, but you're not really sure what happens after that. You've got ideas. You've probably saved some photos, probably pinned some pins, and maybe you've even talked to a contractor or two, but you're still trying to figure out what the process actually looks like. And that can be both stressful and a little bit scary. But don't worry, because in this video, I'm going to walk you step by step through our design build process, from that first phone call all the way through construction, so you know exactly what to expect. Every contractor runs their process a little differently, but there are some key steps that should always be there if things are going to be done right. You should have an initial consultation, kind of like a fact-gathering mission where the GC starts to uncover your wants and needs. There should be a site visit where the space is actually evaluated, measured, and potential issues are identified before anybody talks real numbers with you. There needs to be a decision and planning phase where layouts, selections, and scope are clearly defined, because you can't price what hasn't been thought through. And you should get a detailed estimate, not a rough guess or price per square foot, but a real breakdown of what it's going to take to build your project. And finally, there should be a clear contract and a structured build schedule so everyone knows what's happening and when. If those steps are missing or rushed, that's when projects start to go off the rails. So let me show you how we handle each one of those step by step. Step one is the initial consultation. It may be over the phone, through email, or in person at our offices or our showroom. This is where we start getting to know you, your project, and what you're trying to accomplish. But just as importantly, we're also trying to figure out if we are even a good fit for each other. We don't take on every project, and most of our clients don't want to work with just anyone either. During the initial meeting, we're going to talk about scope, timeline, and yes, budget. You're wondering what it's going to cost, and we're wondering what your budget is. We can give you general ranges of price based on experience and current market conditions, but we can't give you a real number yet. What we can do is tell you pretty quickly if your budget is realistic or if you're hoping to build a 2026 home with a 2019 budget. Having that conversation early saves time and it avoids much bigger frustrations later on. Once we've determined that your budget is realistic and it seems like we like each other, we get to schedule a site visit. Now, you may wonder, why is it important that we like each other? And here's why. Building a home or undertaking a renovation is a very big deal, and who you choose to work with is super, super important. A good GC is going to be all up in your business. We need to understand how you function in your home, what your family dynamics are like, and we need to know all about your finances. The relationship between a builder and our clients tends to be way more intimate than most people expect. And frankly, building or remodeling is not an easy process. We try and make it as easy as possible, but having people in your space, which is likely torn up for weeks and sometimes months, can be super stressful. On new builds, you'll find yourself constantly making decisions and reviewing your budget. All of these things are stressful. And if you and your builder don't actually like and trust each other, that can lead to a miserable, miserable experience for everyone involved. So once we've determined that you have a realistic budget and it seems like a good personality match, we come to your home or your property, we take measurements and photos, and we identify any potential challenges or red flags. This step allows us to make sure the project is a good fit all the way around and to plan accurately and avoid surprises later on. A word about honesty is really important here. As your potential GC, we are always going to be honest with you. Sometimes we're going to need to have really hard conversations, and sometimes it may feel like we are pushing you out of your comfort zone and again, all up in your business. As long as we're honest with each other, we can work through any issues. But when clients are dishonest about the project lead up, or they're hiding things about their finances or their timeline, no matter what we do, the project most likely will not have a positive outcome. We all have to really be able to trust each other. If we make it through step 2 and we all agree to move forward together, the next step is a retainer. This is a financial commitment to move forward. It covers the time and expertise required to develop your project, and that includes design, coordination, planning, and estimating. Most people do not realize what goes into a real estimate. On a large remodel or a custom home, we're not just throwing out a number. We're spending 30, 40, sometimes 50 hours building your project on paper, line by line. And that includes material takeoffs, trade coordination, pricing from suppliers, and a lot of times we're also working with designers and draftsmen, which are not inexpensive. There are real costs involved before a single hammer swings, and that's why we require a retainer. Because what we're delivering isn't a guess. It is a detailed, buildable plan with real numbers behind it. Now, you might have a contractor show up who gives you a price per square foot in 5 minutes, and it happens. But here's the deal. That is not a real estimate. There is no way to give a true and accurate estimate without doing the work involved to get to the real numbers. Sometimes contractors throw a lowball number out to win the job, but they know full well that it's not a real number. And when you get a fake estimate, that's where cost overruns, change orders, and frustration come from. We may use rough numbers early on just to see if we're even in the same ballpark, but if you want accuracy, and you do, if you want to know what your project is really going to cost, and you do, there's no shortcut. We have to do the work to get to the real number. At this point, you're probably wondering, well, how much is this? What does a retainer even cost? The retainer typically ranges from $1,000 for a smaller project up to as much as 5% of the projected project cost for a full custom home. The retainer is an investment. It ensures that we have the time, the resources, and the expertise to get your project off to a good start the first time. It protects you from surprises later. And if you move forward with us, a portion of that retainer is applied towards your project. At the end of the day, the retainer simply ensures we are working with clients who are serious about moving forward. Once you've paid your retainer, we are on to design and estimating, and this is where your project starts to get exciting. We develop layouts, plans, and often we have renderings so you can visualize the final result. We guide you through selections and finishes, all the while coordinating with trade partners to develop accurate pricing, and we're putting together a budget for the entire project. By the end of this phase, you'll have a clear design, defined scope of work, and a full project estimate. This phase can take a few weeks for smaller projects or several months for larger, more complex builds. There's two big factors in how quickly the design and estimating phase goes: how quickly you can make decisions and how quickly the trades get back to us with their own estimates. We do everything we can to keep this process moving forward quickly, but if you're indecisive or you're a slow decision maker, expect the process to take a little bit longer. Once the design and estimating phase is complete, we are ready, finally, to sign the contract. A signed contract and initial deposit kicks off your build. Construction is scheduled, and we get to introduce you to the team. At this stage, all planning and decisions begin to turn into reality. If we're doing a large-scale remodel or addition, this is when you'll move out so construction can begin. If you're building a custom home, this is when we'll break ground. At this point, your dream starts to become a reality. The difference between a smooth project and a stressful one usually comes down to process. When expectations are clear, decisions are made early, and communication is consistent, projects just go more smoothly. If you're considering remodeling or building a new home, the next step is simple. Reach out or visit our showroom and we'll start with that initial conversation. We'll let you know quickly if we think your project is a good fit, and if it is, we'll guide you every step of the way. Give us a call and let's get started building your legacy.